What is up, Sooner Nation? I am Casey Mallon. You are now, come on home, in a Sooner state of mind. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Amazon Music. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC. Head to BetOnline today and don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, the game starts here. Sooner State of Mind family, what is good? We can share what we got of yours because we done shared all of mine. And don't forget, sharing is caring. Man, what a difference a week makes. Now, last week we were riding high after that 24-3 beatdown of Alabama on senior night. Loving everything we saw from the team, except that Bauer Sharp, a drop on what would have been a touchdown. But even so, there was so much to feel good about that his drop ended up not mattering at all. A week later, we go to LSU and get our own beatdown 37-17. Now, I do feel like we didn't have a great offensive game plan for that game. But I also feel like the team emptied the tank in the Bama game and just couldn't get it going against LSU. It's been such an exhausting season for this team physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it. And I think they were just spent going in. They put it all on the line the previous week against Bama, and LSU looked like they were anything but spent in that game. I was really impressed by Nussmeier, the way he came back after the huge hit. Looked like he was going to be done. Not only came back, man, he was throwing dimes, some big time strikes deep downfield. I like the way LSU ran the ball. And even more than that was the way they tackled on defense. They were not missing any tackles, made it tough for the Sooners to get anything going, made them earn everything. And, we just could not match that effort and energy. So, got to give hats off to the Tigers. We knew that was going to be a tough game going in there. Very tough place to play, especially at night. But that being said, I would still rather have the Bama game go down the way it did the week before, meaning I would not trade that win for a win versus LSU or anyone else, even versus Texas, because we normally beat those horns down with the W. So we use that Bama win as the feel-good benchmark of the season. We get rested up and find out where and who we play in our bowl game. Been hearing a lot of chatter about the opponent potentially being Michigan, and I'm cool if that happens, but I don't know if that's going to happen because we play those cats next year in week 2. So seems like a weird matchup being that we're going to get it in just a few months, but who knows? There'd be lots of eyeballs on that thing. I know a couple opponents I would rather see us play, so we'll find out. But we're going to get more into that after Selection Sunday. After all the conference games happen, we get the matchups, and we'll be breaking down our bowl game once we get that information. So here we are in the first week of December, and so much has happened that last week doesn't even matter anymore. That LSU game is kind of whatever. So much. The offseason shrinks. So much is happening, and I guess the biggest news coming out of Norman, no better place to start than with our newest hire, Oklahoma, new offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle. He was the offensive coordinator for the last couple of years for Washington State. Grew up in West Texas. Do we know any other former OCs that grew up there? We're not going to do that. He's up and coming. Doesn't have a ton of experience. I stopped before Washington State, Western Kentucky. Had the offense kicking total butt in the last couple years at Washington State. He's had that offense really firing. The quarterbacks there have led college football in touchdowns each of the past 2 years. He got that gig at 27. This dude is only 29 years old. And he looks like he is one of the better up-and-coming offensive minds in college football. They said he's known for a dynamic and adaptive offensive strategy. Rising through the coaching ranks, BV thinks this guy's got star quality. And if you watch that Washington State tape for the last couple of years, there is plenty to be stoked about. Speaking of watching tape, BV said, I love watching the tape because that to me is the ultimate resume and you get a feel for things. I study offenses more than I study defenses over the past 3 decades, and I have an appreciation for style, presentation, sequences, answers, game plans, personnel, utilizing the personnel, those types of things. And a lot of little things that people don't see, maybe checks, maybe people have built into their systems, things of that nature. If you don't know, BV's a very detail-oriented guy. And we mentioned the offense there. Cougs last year, 12th nationally, almost 37 points a game. And another aspect that BV liked was what he called Arbuckle's performance using the analytic tool called the Schneider formula, named after K-State coach Bill Schneider, who BV did a little time with, and what he's been able to accomplish with the personnel he's had. Said his resume is brief, but so is Zach Alley. And so far, that's been pretty good for the Sooners. And BV continued. Ben continued to be on top of the list. Just a short resume, but I look at the quality, not necessarily the quantity. And I look at the other things: personality, maturity, leadership skills, colleague testimonials, things of that nature, what they've done with what they've had. And we mentioned the quarterbacks, some pretty good ones here. John Mateer, Austin Reed, Cam Ward, and Bailey Zappi. Zappi's in the NFL. Ward at Miami putting up an awesome numbers this season. And at Western Kentucky, Reed led the nation, 4,700 plus passing yards. BV continued, you have to be able to identify without question, but most importantly, once you get them, you have to grow and develop them and put them in a position to be successful when talking about the quarterbacks. So he's had 4 really good ones where he's been the full-time coach, and they've all had elite level success, breaking national records. So that's good stuff. That's really good stuff. BV also said, I'm excited to see our offense reach new heights under Ben's guidance and leadership, working alongside the rest of our offensive staff. Coach Finley, Coach Beatenbaugh, Coach Murray, Coach Emmett Jones. We'll retain all of them, Venable said. So a chance to keep a lot of cohesion in there, keeping the great recruiters that we have, the great offensive line coach. Joe John's tight end room struggled a little bit, but that's a Sooner, man. That's a legacy, bro. So if BV wants to keep him in the mix, I'm cool with that. We do need more production out of that room. Don't know if it's the development or injuries, maybe a combo of those things, but that does have to improve. But I am stoked to see all of these guys come back. And when they talk about how young Arbuckle is, BV also said, I was offered the associate head coach and defensive coordinator at a really good program when I was 27 years old. 2 years of experience, never calling it there at Kansas State. So I'm just a living testimony that I was pretty good early, and I've been having a pretty good career over the course of 3 decades. So sounds like BV's done his homework. Can't argue with the results. And speaking of those results, Cam Ward this year, Miami, of course, not at Washington State, but he's throwing for over 67%, over 4,000 yards, 36 TDs to just 7 interceptions. His previous year when he was with Arbuckle at Washington State, almost 67%, 3,700 yards, 25 TDs, and just 7 interceptions. So you got to think that Ward took some of that coaching on with him to Miami, a little better team, a little more offensive weaponry there. So that tutelage, though, set him up for success moving forward. So hopefully he can have that same impact on the quarterbacks at Oklahoma. John Mateer, Arbuckle's quarterback for this season at Washington State. 65% or almost 65%, 3,100 yards, 29 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions. Lots of TDs, not many turnovers. And you go ahead and throw in 800 rushing yards and 15 more TDs. Very high level of productivity at Washington State. And Mateer's production might be more relevant than we initially thought, because word this week comes out of Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold plans to enter the transfer portal. His father, Todd, told the Oklahoman on Wednesday that Arnold does plan to transfer. 9 starts in his Sooner career, finished this season 1,400 passing yards, almost 450 rush yards, and 15 total touchdowns with 3 interceptions. You might remember he was benched for 3 games after the 3 turnover game against Tennessee in the first half. But he came back and played well down the stretch. Really showing off the physicality and what he was capable of in the run game the last few weeks. And, this is a total bummer when you think about the way the Jackson Arnold era came and went here at Oklahoma. I don't think any player with the level of experience or the lack of trying to navigate the complete shit show of a season that this was, the adversity, I don't know that anybody coming in as redshirt freshman could have been successful with what was thrown at them. All season long, shuffling of the offensive line, no cohesion, different lineups each week, the absolute decimation at the receiver position. 5 best receivers out almost the entire year. Odds completely stacked against Jackson Arnold. Not to mention losing Jeff Lebby before the season starts. The catastrophe of the Seth Luttrell era. Odds were just stacked against him from Jump Street. But I think what impressed me the most was the way this cat continued to grind after getting benched. He could have went into a shell, could have disassociated from the team. He did not do that. He kept his head down, kept working, stayed locked in, and was ready for when his opportunity came back. And the last couple of weeks, dude absolutely put it on the line for his coaches and his teammates. Showed great character. And that's when character is revealed, when adversity is high. It's easy to be the dude when everything is going well. But when it's not, who steps up? Arnold did that. He did everything the right way. So while it's a bummer to see him go, I do hope he falls into a great situation. He's still got a ton of skill and a ton of upside. And the adversity that he did have to navigate through this season will definitely serve him well in the future. And I will absolutely be rooting for JFA, unless he goes to any of the teams on the list of the hated ones. Hope he does not do that. So best of luck to him moving forward. It's just kind of a bummer the way things worked out. Pretty lame. And, it is what it is at this point, but definitely hope for success for JFA. And I think besides him so far, the only other player that we've heard that will enter the portal is Jaquez Petaway. And this was kind of an enigma too, with all the injuries to the receiver position. This dude was not able to get on the field. Speculation that he couldn't get his head in the playbook and just couldn't pick it up. I don't know if that's the case or not. He showed some flashes when he had opportunity, but obviously he was not able to seize that opportunity the rest of the way because it was wide open there for the taking, and we didn't see this guy on the field hardly at all. But tremendous upside to his game as well, so who knows where he's going to go, but the Sooners will be attacking the portal for the best players out there to come in and plug some of these holes that we have on the roster. But December 4th was early signing day for 2025, and Sooners have 20 people coming in, ranked between 10 and 13 nationally. And we're pretty stoked about some of the names on this list offensively. Michael Fasusi, the 5-star offensive tackle, 6'5", 295, second OT nationally. There was some speculation that he might have been flipped late, possibly to A&M or to Texas. That was not the case. He stayed strong. He stayed Sooner. And I can't wait for this guy to get in there with BB and take his game to the next level. Ryan Froje, he, a 4-star offensive tackle, committed to. So between those two, we have 2 6'5" tackles coming into this offensive line that was absolutely decimated this year. So it's good that the reinforcements are coming. Some of the young guys were getting a lot of playing time down the stretch. I expect to see some of that in the bowl game, and depending how this offseason goes, maybe we see these dudes earlier than later. Elijah Thomas, 4-star receiver from Oklahoma, 6'1", 185. Dude's got speed. We're stoked to have him. Cortez Mills, another 4-star wide receiver. He's almost 6'1", 165 pounds, a little slim, but fast, and supposedly one of the best route runners coming into the mix. Torrey Blaylock, baby, 4-star running back from Texas, 5'10", 195. This dude looks to be an absolute playmaker, too. Another receiver, Emmanuel Choice, 3-star, 6'4", 195. Can't wait to get these dudes into camp. Trine Washington, 3-star tight end from Oklahoma City, 6'3", 195. This dude needs to get into the weight room, but they expect him to be more of a threat in the passing game. But definitely has to bulk up a little bit. So I like what I'm seeing there. Grayson Harris, 3-star receiver, smaller guy, 5'10", 170. Darius Afalava, 3-star interior offensive lineman from Utah, 6'5", 320 pounds. We talked about beefing up the trenches. Owen Hollenbeck, 6'2", 315. These guys are all coming in, already 300 pounds, monsters, reinforcing that. Maybe we hit the portal to try to bridge the gap until these guys are ready to play. Depends what happens. If they show they're capable, they'll get thrown in there, but probably going to take a little bit of time. But this is what's needed to compete in the SEC, and they've identified areas of need, and they've attacked them. So can't say enough about what they're doing there. These guys get in with Bill Beatenbow, get in there with Schmitty, and I'm expecting good things. On the defensive side of the ball, C.J. Nixon, 4-star edge rusher, in-state prospect, 6'5", 220. We're bringing them edge rushers, baby. We're getting after people. Tristan Haynes, 4-star cornerback, 6'2", 175, also in state. Keeping these boys in state now, that's what we've needed to do. This administration has put an emphasis on that, not letting these guys get out of state into the other programs, keeping them where they belong. Trent Wilson, 4-star defensive lineman from Maryland, 6'3", 270. Got to get that guy beefed up a little bit. Omarion Robinson, 4-star safety out of Arkansas, 6 foot, 171. Lots of buzz surrounding this guy. People are excited about him. Marcus Wimberly, Cortland Gilroy, Marcus James, Malik Hawkins, little brother of Michael Hawkins, 3-star cornerback from Texas, 6 foot, 180. Getting size. And this guy, Alexander Shield Knight, 3-star edge rusher from Oklahoma, 6'3", 235. Finding the areas of need and getting playmakers there. But the size of these guys is what's got me stoked. Just got to get the build up a little bit, but they have the length, they have the size. So well done on this class. I'm not worried about all the ratings. I think some of the guys that aren't the 5 stars come in there and have the work ethic and try to elevate their game. And sometimes people make that jump after they get into college. You know, some of these cats have a ton of ability early on. Some it takes a little while. You get them some good coaching. They can make the most of their physical abilities, but get that good coaching, and they have a chance to be elite players. And already this year, the Sooners had a ton of young bloods out there getting playing time. Now with the bowl game, this team will get more opportunity, more practices, really paving the way for the future. It's all incredibly valuable time that they're getting. These practices are going to be great. And this youth movement is legit. Had a ton of underclassmen on the roster already, ton of playmakers in place. We're adding these new guys, and you see it starting to build. We got to give it some time. We got to be patient, but building a monster just does not happen overnight. And if we want that longevity of success, you do things the right way. There are no shortcuts to great accomplishments or what you get from working hard. You got to put in the work. And if you put in the work, the results happen. And I have total faith in this administration, in this staff, to get these guys developed. Not only that, they're getting the right type of players in here. And that's got to matter, not on just one level, on every level. You get dudes that represent the college the right way, and you teach them up and you coach them up, and you're creating young men that are ready for the world after football, but you give them good football skills. And I'm completely stoked with the direction. I trust that BV put in all the work, studied Arbuckle, identified the guy that he went out and got him. You look at our coordinators now, they're both young, up-and-coming stars. Hopefully we can hold on to them. But another year in this ongoing process, brutal-ass schedule this year, brutality on the injuries. I know nobody wants to hear that outside of the program, but in here we know what we were dealing with, the adversity that we faced. So I think the future is bright. And I can't wait to find out who we get in the bowl game, where we're going, see these guys play, and then get this new class in there. And before you know it, spring ball will be here, and it'll be April, and we will be watching the spring game. So this time next week, before we jump to April, we are going to have all the participants for all the bowl games. We'll know who our opponent is and what we're playing. But even better than that is we will have all the participants for the first ever 12-team playoff. Lots of controversy already with some of the selections, so we need to wait until we get it official. Definitely some head scratchers in there in the way that the committee is approaching this thing. Not sure I agree with everything they're doing. We've got to see what happens. I don't know that they're going to be consistent with which teams win or lose the conference championships. It might have a negative impact on some of the lower tier teams, and it probably won't impact some of the teams that are there every year. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I'm not going to jump to conclusions until it's all official, but um, looks like South Carolina is out of there unless some total wackiness happens. And I know that they lost to Bama and Ole Miss, but I don't know that there was a hotter team down the stretch playing better football. One terrible call away from beating LSU too, and only having those 2 losses. So it doesn't look like the committee had that factored in when they initially let these guys out. But I'm not gonna have any rage until we know exactly what's going, and handle your business, and you take the decision out of somebody else's hands. But those guys have been playing pretty damn good football in a brutal conference, obviously. So, but let's see what happens next week after the conference championship games, and then we'll have a better idea of what's going on. But bottom line, this thing is about money. It is about advertising dollars. So the powers that be absolutely want some name brands in there to get these cats eyeballs on the screen. So I think you get that anyways, no matter what. But it is still a business. It will always be a business. So it is what it is at that point. But we do have a couple good conference championships lined up starting on Friday. So it is going to be pretty exciting this weekend. And we get it started on Friday. Tulane and Army. I think those guys will not have any impact on what happens moving forward. However, also on Friday is UNLV versus Boise State. BetOnline has Boise State being 4-point favorites in this game. I don't know that Genty can do anything to win that Heisman. I mean, if 2,000 rushing yards, 30 touchdowns or whatever he ends up with isn't enough, I don't know. It seems like Travis Hunter has that thing on lockdown, who's put in a great season too, but I think I would have to give it to Genty, but I get it. If it's Hunter, it's not, a deal breaker for me, but you would like to see a 2,000-yard running season get some recognition, but it is what it is. Kinky game here, Iowa State versus Arizona State. Sun Devils are 2-point favorites in this one, and Arizona State kind of came out of nowhere to lead the Big 12. They've played pretty good football all season long. See if they can hold on. Iowa State kind of expected to compete in that league for the championship. They're right there, kind of not backdoored their way in, had a couple game losing streak, and then turned it around and finished the season strong. So that's a tough team. I think both of these teams could cause some problems for whoever their matchup is in the playoff. But I think only one team gets in from the Big 12. The loser of this one probably is not going to get any love. So win this game, and then you will be in for sure. SEC Championship, Georgia versus Texas. BetOnline has Texas, 2 S's, as a 2.5-point favorite, even though Georgia beat those fools down earlier in the season. But since that Georgia loss, Texas has just been rolling. Pretty easy schedule, though. Not going to front on that. Georgia's struggled. They haven't looked like the Georgia we've come to know. Georgia Tech took them to 7 or 8 overtimes last week. Are they going to be tired? Is that going to have an impact on the game? Or are they going to go in there and smack Texas twice? You know what Sooner State of Mind family is rooting for? We would love to see Georgia take those fools down and send Texas out on the road. in a first-round matchup. So lots still to be determined for who ends up in what bowl and who goes where and who gets the bye. In the ACC, it's Clemson versus SMU. South Carolina beat Clemson last week, but Clemson backdoors into the ACC championship with Miami losing to Syracuse. So SMU is a 2-point favorite in this game. SMU's been a solid team start to finish this year. Had the early loss against BYU. Other than that, they've been rolling. So what happens if Clemson wins this game? Does the ACC get 2 teams into the playoff? It's hard to think that SMU hasn't earned a right to be there, even if they lose this game. And that's something we're going to have to look at moving forward in this new 12-team playoff. If they do SMU dirty like that and they lose this game and fall out of the playoffs, then what the hell is the point in making your conference championship game? So hopefully the committee does not do them dirty. But even better, hopefully SMU wins this game. I love the style of football they're playing. It's fun. It's fast. Defense is solid, too. They've been a welcome surprise to this season, so I would like to see that carry on. And then we'll find out where the ACC champion ultimately falls in that thing. And if Clemson does win this game, the throwing the dirt on Dabo and this team would be a little bit premature. And if they win this, that's going to be a tough out for anybody. So very interesting to see what happens with that game. And then it's weird that we get the SEC championship early in the day and we get the Big Ten late in the day, which is I would rather it be flipped. But we have Penn State at Oregon. Oregon, the only undefeated team remaining out there. I think they're going to handle Penn State in this one. I'm still not sure what I think about Penn State. They were pretty close against Ohio State, but not a lot of offense there. Strong defense. And Oregon had a couple stumbles out of the gate, but it wasn't enough to lose a game. Playing good football. Dylan Gabriel playing really good football. They've been moshing on most of their opponents. I expect more of that. I know that Penn State defense is good, but I just really like what Oregon is doing offensively. So maybe that game gets away from them a little bit. So we shall see. But those are some pretty good championship games coming up this weekend. And then on Sunday, we'll know who all the conference champions are. We'll know who's going to all the bowl games. And we will come back with that and be completely stoked to run and see who the first 12 teams are in this playoffs. And then in just a couple weeks, we will have 4 college football playoff games in one weekend. Delicious. Let's throw in an NFL doubleheader on that Saturday too. 5 football games on December 20th. All with huge ramifications. But that college weekend, we get the Friday night game and then the triple header on Saturday. It is going to be completely and totally awesome. And what a great way to run into Christmas. And then just knowing that we're going to have college football into the middle of January, the longest it's ever gone. Stoke levels rising. All right. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Amazon Music. Sooner State of Mind is free. So go over there and wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe and then plug in and listen. Also, head on over to Believe.com. That's BLEAV.com. Go to shows, type in Sooner State of Mind. You are locked. It's a ton of great content, every team, every topic, everywhere, Believe.com. And if you want to watch Sooner State of Mind, head on over to YouTube and search The Football Dudes. We are there. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a like. Give us some comments. And if you're into NFL as well, Football Dudes have the Trend Zone. Takes care of all of your NFL football needs. And overall, we take care of all your college and football needs in one delightful place. Okay. Sooner State of Mind is brought to you by Bet Online. My name is Casey Mallon, and I am in a Sooner state of mind.